90% of people were not going to hang around if they found themselves in the same situation I found myself in a couple of weeks back. So here's what happened. I had a call from a gentleman looking to get an appraisal done for his property. And he said, look, Alex, I've owned the property for give or take 45 years. I'm now in a position where I can't walk and the house is not suitable for me anymore. I said, absolutely, I'm happy to help with the appraisal. Had a quick look online. There was no records of anything with the property really. So I said, look, I think the best way to go from here is let's arrange a time that suits for both of us, that we can come around, have a walk through the property together and actually understand the layout of the home, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, what improvements are done, all these kind of things. And so, yeah, that's great. So we arranged a time that was going to be on a weekend after I'd finished with the open homes. So it was late afternoon kind of thing. So that was all good. So I spoke to him on, it might have been a Monday or a Tuesday, and I was seeing him in the upcoming Wednesday. So several days passed. So he said to me, he said, when you get here, give me a call. As I said, I cannot walk. I'll explain to you how to get into the house. I said, yeah, no dramas at all. Carried on the rest of the week. Anyway, weekend rolls around, finished all my open homes, heading over to the property, pull up outside, and it's essentially a super wide frontage of the house. Now, nice high fences, big trees you can see in the front yard there, even more trees further on. Basically, from the road, you could not see the house. And it was green fence, green foliage everywhere. I actually struggled to find the gate to start with. So anyway, I did actually find the small gate. I gave him a call. Hey, I'm outside. He said, "Oh, you're outside. I can't see you." And I looked through the gate, just through the slats in the panels there, and I said, "Oh well, I'm pretty sure I'm here. Double check the number. Double check the number on the letterbox there, and yes, I'm in the right place." He said, "Okay, well, that's fine." And I'm looking through the fence, and I can see the house, and I can't see any windows, and I definitely can't see anyone looking back at me. Anyway, don't think too much of it. He said, okay, so the gate's locked, as you could see, which there was a huge chain with a padlock on it. I wasn't going to argue that it was locked. So he said to me, he said, what you're going to do is you're going to open the bolt and push the gate as far as you can before the chain maxes out. He said, should be enough room to get your arm around and reach around for the key. So that's fine. So I push it in there and I put my little hand in there. I said, oh, I'm feeling around, can't really feel it. And he says, no, you need to really put your whole arm inside and feel around for the key. See, and then he goes to me, don't worry, nothing's going to grab you. I thought, nothing's going to grab me. I wasn't even thinking about anything grabbing me until you mentioned something grabbing me. So now, that little planted seed of doubt is in my mind, a little bit of fear, just a little planted just there for me. So anyway, I did eventually put my whole arm there, very cautiously, might I add, found this key, unlocked the padlock, pushed the gate open, let myself in. He said, now make sure you close it behind me. And now I'm a little bit worried because now I'm in the front yard. It's very dark. It's if you remember a couple of weeks back, it was very kind of storm was coming into Auckland, very windy, very grey, very dark. And this front yard was well overgrown, like seriously overgrown. Like I couldn't really see the ground. It was just overgrown grass and weeds and bush and who knows what. And the house is in front of me, probably maybe 15, 20 meters, and it's all overgrown across the house. There's a climbing ivy all over the front of the house. You can't see the front door. You can't even see any windows. There's definitely no lights on. And he said, make sure you close the gate behind you. And I'm a little bit off kiltered at this point. So I just pushed the gate closed. Definitely didn't lock it again because I wanted to make sure if I need to get a speedy exit, I don't need anything holding me up. And now I'm standing in this front yard. And you've got a fence to my left, fence to my right, which I knew was sort of further in than it should have been compared to the wide road frontage. And he said to me, so what you need to do is you need to move along the side of the fence, which is all covered in brush, by the way. And he says, you need to just find the panel that just opens. I said, okay, I've got him on speakerphone on my hand and I'm feeling along the fence here. And I found the panel, pushes all the way open. He says, good, go through there. Okay, well, all right. Went into there again. I'm very cautious. I'm a little bit worried at this stage. Look around, and I basically pushed my way into what could only be described as a shed or a garage, perhaps. And he said, yes, now you're in the right place. You need to go to the ranch slider doors. And I went over to the ranch slider doors and I looked through the glass, obviously, and basically it was just a long, wide corridor of darkness. He says, open the ranch slider doors there, open them up, had a look through, again, darkness. There's something on the sides. I can't really tell what it is. Is it greenery? Is it decorated? I couldn't really tell what it was. It was dark, right? And so I went through the right side doors, and he says, now make sure you close those doors behind you. Okay. How did he know that they were open? So I closed them enough so that it didn't latch. So there's about a gap about this much. Because again, I don't want to get caught out in this situation. And as I took a step inside these ranch sliders, the first set of lights came on. And stepped forward a little bit more, the second set of lights came on. So now this was broken up into maybe 4 or 5 parts. And I keep walking, and then the third set of lights turned on. And I turned around to make sure the door was still open, and the first set of lights had switched off. So as I kept walking, all the lights were turning off as I was going. And I got to the end, and it was this great high ceiling room, and there was all these decorations. It looked kind of like a party hire or a decorative hire place. And I looked around, and it didn't look like things had been moved recently anyway. And I walked up to a screen. Now all these lights had turned on, and the lights behind me had all turned off. Walked up to the screen, and on the screen it was for a security camera system. And in the first box was the gate I first came in. Second one was from that little bush fence thing that I pushed through. The third set was from the ranch slider. And on the fourth one in the top corner there, I was looking back at my own back, looking at this screen. And I'm a little bit worried. And he said to me down the hall, he goes, you can't just stand there, you need to keep walking. I'm a little bit worried at this point, right? I've seen Criminal Minds many times, and I know that this is not a good situation. I've done many house tours. This is not like anything I've ever done before. So anyway, he's telling me to go here and go there, and I managed to get out the back of this place, and there's birds in cages, magpies, and all that kind of thing. And I'm saying to him, look, this is where I am. He's like, no, you've gone too far. You need to go back. Go back. So okay. So I backtrack my steps, and I'm standing back at the screen again, and then he said to me very softly and slowly, said, this is where you need to go. And I listened carefully this time because, my heart's racing, and I'm trying to, figure out, should I go through with this or should I just walk back to the car? Anyway, so he managed to direct me through this trail kind of thing to what could only be described as the back door of the property. And he said, now there's a big cardboard box full of newspaper, tissues, all this kind of scrunched up, material. So you need to reach in there, and inside there's a key. And I've seen Criminal Minds. I wasn't too excited about this part. And he said, in there's a key. Pull that out, and that's going to open the door. So I said, oh my God, okay. So anyway, I moved some of the tissue away, and I managed to see the string attached to the key. I pulled it out, and as I got closer to the door, I could hear this voice that was on the other end of the phone. So I said, okay, well, good news is I'm getting closer to where this gentleman is. The bad news is I'm getting closer to where this gentleman is. I don't know what's going on in the background. So anyway, open the key, pushed the door, I kind of stood back as the door sort of swung open. As it does, of course it has to do that. It's dark, gloomy night, it's windy, no lights are on, and you got a creaky door, the trifecta. And I poked my head in again, and I could see a gentleman sitting in the middle of a big lounge, one lamp in the corner, and a little bit of light from the TV. And I stepped into the property. And that's the last thing I'm going to tell you guys. I'll do a part 2 for this story if people actually care what happened.